I'll be honest, I was jealous of your dance moves. I was watching a few videos, like, man, I saw you at the baile, and I was like, oh man, Connor's got the moves. I'm like, I need to take lessons from this guy, because that's my biggest thing, man. It's like, you get some tequila in me when I'm at a baile or whatever, and I feel good, then I can dance, whether it's good or not. But I'm watching you, and I'm like, man, like, oh, he's killing it. Hola a todos, ¿qué onda? ¿Cómo están? Today, I am here with Connor Dusterberg. Now, when I first saw one of your videos, I just want to say I was shocked. I was like, man, I thought I was into Mexican culture, and I thought, like I was into all this. And then you pop up. I think one of my friends shared a video with me, like, hey, mira este way. And I like check it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this guy's like, he's at the jaripeo, like he's listening to like the corridos, and I'm like so impressed. So kind of give us an introduction of who you are and what you do.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for having me, Nate. Hi guys, my name is Connor. On TikTok, you might know me as Connor Dusty. I don't really use my last name all that often because it is longer. But on TikTok, you might know me as Connor Dusty. And there, I make videos showing my love for Latin culture as well as Mexican culture, which is really just what I resonate with and what I grew up with. So, yeah, it's a special place for me to be able to show my love for the culture and just make some funny comedic videos about what I love.
Okay, cool. Beautiful. Okay, so my first question, which is, it's kind of vague, but my first question is, how did this all start? How did you get into Spanish? How did you get into the Mexican culture? Like, and where did this even come from?
Yeah, this is one I get all the time. A lot of people ask me this, especially like if I'm living or people just commented in the comment section of a TikTok. And so what I would say to this one is, when I was young, I always knew I wanted to learn another language. And I didn't necessarily know what that language was going to be. But as soon as I got older, I quickly started to think, yeah, it's probably going to be Spanish. Because in my area, there are a lot of Hispanics and more specifically Mexicans. And so I always had a feeling I would learn Spanish. And then fast forward to middle school, I took my first, basic beginner course, like el alfabeto, that's the basics. And I really, really enjoyed it. I had a great teacher who really instilled that love to learn the language for me. And I decided, I think my 8th grade year, I'm like, one day I am going to be fluent in Spanish. One day I'm going to speak this language fluently, and I'm going to be able to communicate to the best of my abilities with it. I took it all the way through high school. I started 1 year early in Spanish, so I went to the higher level course as a freshman, and I finished AP Spanish by my junior year. And now fast forward, I'm in college, and I speak Spanish every day, and I just love having the ability to speak Spanish. And I definitely think growing up in an area where I was surrounded by a good amount of Hispanics and being aware of the Latino, the Mexican, more specifically the Mexican culture in my area, really helped instill that love and that connection for me. So yeah, it's something that's really special for me.
Okay, cool, definitely. It's interesting you say that, because I think a lot of times when, a lot of people who watch my videos are learning Spanish, and a lot of the times, a lot of people are very motivated, but they lack kind of the immersion aspect that I think you and I were fortunate enough to have, where it's like around us, there's so many Spanish speakers, and to kind of, it's one thing to learn a language in a book or in a class, but it's another thing to go out in the real world and live the language. So
I agree with that.
And you're in North Carolina? Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I'm from North Carolina.
Gotcha. I've been doing my research, Connor.
Awesome, yeah. And one thing about me is I'm super proud to be from North Carolina. I'm super proud to be from the South. And that's one thing, when I tell people a lot that I speak Spanish, they commonly say, well, aren't you from North Carolina, or aren't you from the South? And I say, yeah, of course. But a lot of people don't realize that there are a ton of Hispanics here in the South, as well as a whole lot of Hispanic culture here, because there are a lot of business owners here. There are a lot of, like in my hometown, this is what I always tell my friends when they're like, how do you speak Spanish? This is my common remark. I say, oh, well, in my hometown we have 11 taquerias. So I think that's a pretty good way to go up to your local taquero and order in Spanish. Hola, puedo tener, however many tacos you want, But that's just been something for me. Like, that's an example I use. Culture's all around you, but sometimes you have to find it.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I love that. No, I love that. And I think something I noticed, in you, is that you seem like a very relaxed kind of guy, and I think a lot of people, when they're learning Spanish, they start to take it so seriously. And I think something that maybe is misunderstood about myself is, and I think maybe this is the same with you. It's not that I don't take learning Spanish seriously, or but it's like, it's fun. Like, it's relaxed. I'm here to just connect with people and have a good time. So I think when people like take it so seriously, that's something that almost like inhibits their growth and their learning.
Definitely. I think with me, the most learning I've had in the Spanish language has been through more casual things. Like listening to music for me was one of the most helpful, and then watching novelas. I'm very open about that. Novelas help me learn Spanish. Ain't no shame, my end. But I think yeah, when you do put too much pressure on yourself, it does make things a lot harder. Actually, this is something I've improved on a lot in the past year. I used to be very uncomfortable speaking Spanish, just because I would get really nervous around native speakers, and I would always like try not to make a mistake. And the truth is you make a lot of mistakes. It's just the one thing I'd say that makes you not want to speak it is when someone like makes fun of those mistakes.
Sure.
That was always an issue with me. If I ever had a friend say, "Oh, well, you say this wrong or you say that wrong," and I was like, "Okay, well, you didn't have to make fun of me for it."
Right.
You know, but it's just like getting over those little things, because usually people don't mean it in a mean way.
No.
And so just getting over little things like that really helps. Like I used to be, as I said earlier, I used to be really, really nervous, but definitely moving to Miami, since I go to the University of Miami, has really helped me speak Spanish.
Sure.
I'd say one of the biggest challenges in Miami is adapting to Cuban Spanish, because
Sure.
I really only grew up around the Mexican Spanish and more like the Central American Spanish, so still a pretty different dialect than the Caribbean Spanish with Cubans and Boricuas, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans. And so that has definitely been one of my biggest challenges, but it's helped me become more confident in my Spanish speaking ability. So when I go home, I feel a lot better about speaking Spanish.
Absolutely. And also, it's interesting, how you said, like, the nervousness, because, of course, we all experience this. And it's almost this funny thing because, like, I agree, we make mistakes all the time. I still make mistakes. Like, I'm teaching people Spanish. I speak Spanish in all my videos. Yeah, I still make mistakes. And I think sometimes it's hard to own that, because especially when you're in like the quote unquote limelight. Like I bet you now, because people, I see you and I say, man, Connor, he's so into the Mexican culture. He's going to the bailes. He's hanging out with people speaking Spanish. He's in Miami speaking Spanish. So his Spanish must be great, whatever. And then, you have to be like, okay, but like, hey, yeah, I still make mistakes, and like I still embarrass myself when I speak, and like that's okay,
Yeah, of course, definitely. I agree with that, and I think one of the biggest things that I was nervous about too, being on social media. When you get big on social media, people, they paint this picture of you, and a lot of people think one of the biggest misconceptions about me is that I'm just one singular person that's only interested in Mexican culture.
Sure.
And I'm like, there's so much more to me.
Right.
And so a lot of people assume that this is like my main thing going on, and so I'm really, really good at Spanish. And I tell people, I'm like, oh, well, watch my videos and then you get an idea. But also, like, me in person, like, I make a lot of mistakes, and that's normal. And it's okay to make mistakes. Like,
Absolutely.
That's the one thing I tell all people that are practicing is, sometimes, as embarrassing as it is, making mistakes, I just say ignore it. You live and you learn. You won't make the mistake again if it embarrasses you that much. And, it's all just a learning lesson.
Definitely. Yeah, and I think, too, like, something you had mentioned was, how music helped you a lot. And I know in a lot of your videos, a lot of them are music focused. Also, I'll be honest, I was jealous of your dance moves. I was watching a few videos, like, man, I saw you at the baile, and I was like, oh, man, Connor's got the moves. I'm like, I need to take lessons from this guy, because that's my biggest thing, man. It's like, you get some tequila in me when I'm at a baile or whatever, and I feel good, then I can dance, whether it's good or not. But I'm watching you, and I'm like, man, like, oh, he's killing it. But anyways, with regards to music, even now, like, I still learn so much from listening to music.
Yes.
Like, especially in the songs that you're listening to, there's a lot of slang and stuff going on. Maybe talk a little bit about, like, how music has helped you and, like, what kind of music you like to listen to.
Yeah, of course. So I'd say my favorite types of music, anything that falls under, like música regional mexicano, like regional Mexican music. So I really like corridos. I like banda. Banda's one of my favorites. Really like norteñas. Yeah, I pretty much like anything like that. And then of course, like I listen to reggaeton like everybody else does that speaks Spanish.
Sure.
And so yeah, I listen to a lot of regional Mexican music. And that has definitely helped me learn Spanish. I credit that more towards my like accent, the reason why I speak the way I do. It's funny, you know, some people tell me I have a very like neutral accent. They're like, I can't tell necessarily where you're from, but you don't sound American. That was the goal for me. I didn't want to sound like a gringo speaking Spanish. I never did. I never wanted to be like to fit that stereotype.
Sure.
So that's something I worked really hard at. And so some people tell me, they're like, oh yeah, you definitely sound more Mexican when you speak Spanish, or oh, you definitely sound like more Latin American, or yeah, than anything Central American. And that's kind of the goal. I didn't necessarily want to sound like a gringo, but the music really helped me. It definitely helped me pick up on slang, but I think it more taught me how to speak, how to like fragment my sentences, and that definitely helped, just listening to kind of the topics, because there's a wide variety, you know. In corridos, a lot of people stereotype it as being like, oh, you're just talking about girls, drugs, or like driving a truck or something, you know, sort of like that. But that's why I like listening to the variety, because there's so much to like. There's so much to banda. There's so much to norteñas, and I'm like a sucker for some of the love songs. Let me tell you, like they're good. Banda MS, like
yeah, oh, I love them. Las acústicas.
Yeah, they're great. So yeah, music has been such a big help. In fact, I mean, for a long time, I'm finally starting to get back into like country music and stuff that I listen to back home. But I mean, for years I would only listen to Spanish music. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, man, we're like the same person. Seriously, it's cool. It's funny, and it's funny too. It's interesting what you said about the accent, because I was always the same way, where I wanted my accent to be good, and even though I was maybe trying to force it more so that I did sound more native, like that was the whole point, because I don't want to sound like "Hola, ¿cómo estás?" You know. But it's funny because, like you said, a lot of people said you have a neutral accent. I've noticed it's funny. I love norteñas, and people always tell me, dude, you sound like you're like a ranchero or something. Like what's going on? Like you sound like some northern guy. I'm like, well, honestly, like I didn't necessarily try to have that specific accent. It just kind of happened because I was listening. Yeah, I was just listening to that kind of music a lot. So I think that's interesting. Next question. Just real quick, like any like just like little tidbits of Spanish learning advice that you have?
Yeah. I would definitely say, well, one, kind of what we discussed earlier, I'd say like don't stress, just have fun with it. I think the best thing you can do for yourself is having fun and enjoying just the process of learning. Second, I definitely watch shows, like novelas, whatever you want to watch. Anything on Netflix in Spanish is good, and just really immerse yourself with that, because that's honestly, I would accredit me learning more Spanish to that rather than music, which I think is crazy, because I listen to so much music in Spanish. So yeah, definitely watching like shows and stuff like that in Spanish it really helps you on how to speak, because a lot of the times I catch myself thinking, oh well, I said this in Spanish like I would say it in English, but a lot of the time, like phrases in Spanish, I'm not one with like to break this down in a technical way, but a lot of the times, you know, what you'd say in Spanish would be kind of how like the reverse of how you'd say it in English, and vice versa. And so sometimes I find myself saying something in Spanish like I'd say it in English, and I'm like, wait a minute, like that's not right.
Right.
And so that's helped me in a lot of ways to learn in what order to say things, definitely.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that's a big lesson, right? It's just like immersion, you know? It's like, I always tell students, honestly, like, learn the technical aspect of the language, like grammar and maybe vocab and stuff in a book or in a course or in a class or whatever, but then you gotta start applying it into the real world by speaking with people and immersing yourself through music and watching shows like you were talking about. So yeah, all good advice. What's next? What's next for you? What's the goal? What's the end goal? Do you have any plans, ideas?
Yeah, I get asked this one a lot, and honestly, I'm just taking it where it goes. You know, I'm a let loose, let live guy, and at least I'm trying to be.
Cool.
And so I really want to continue with the videos and just see where that gets me. I'm really, really blessed and grateful for all the opportunities TikTok has brought me, and so I just plan on keeping up with the videos for now. That's definitely a big blessing, is being able to have such a big platform and being able to connect and meet so many people. I've met some of the coolest people ever, you know, and I love going to bailes and jaripeos and being stopped and getting to talk to people and meet people and ask them their story. You know, it's such a cool experience. But for now, I'm just this summer, the plan is to go to as many bailes as possible back home, and from there, you know, I'm just gonna make as many videos as I can. But ideally, I'd love to work in the future just doing Spanish. I really want to get involved in real estate. That's my goal. That's what I'm doing at the University of Miami right now, and I would love to do real estate development abroad, specifically in Latin America. I think that would be really, really cool. And kind of just a mix of two things I love. I love real estate, and I love, obviously, speaking Spanish. So hopefully that's something I'll get to do in the future as well.
Okay, cool. Okay. All right, okay. I do have one last question, and I'll ask you in Spanish because I know you've been speaking in English. All right.
Yeah.
¿Cómo puedo mejorar mis habilidades de bailar?
Esto es difícil. I would say... I'm trying to think.
Sí, no pasa nada. Porque, por ejemplo, ¿tú fuiste a clases de baile o no? ¿No más aprendiste?
No. Bailo con mis amigos
Ajá.
en la uni,
Ajá.
pero no más que eso. I mean, the dog's barking, sorry.
No, it's okay, it's okay.
I dance a little with my friends at school, but just, you know, just if we're around, we're like, oh, want to practice. One of my really close friends, her name's Fatima, back at my school. We practice a little bit, but this would be it. Watch videos on TikTok. Why did that not hit my head? I'm shocked. You know, but look at the videos on TikTok because those really help you. Like and also YouTube tutorials.
Okay.
Those help.
Okay.
I'm trying to give you a timeline of like when I started dancing. This was a good question. I'm glad you said that. Dancing's the hard question.
Yeah.
But to improve your abilities on dancing, I definitely like watch videos, watch TikToks, and just, you know, slow them down if you have to, and just take it from there. But the one thing I'd say that I love about dancing, specifically in like the Mexican culture, is it's so loose. It's loose. It's just, you gotta let loose. You gotta enjoy it. You know, it's. I think it's more fun than it is technical, and that's what I like. You know, dancing norteñas, it's just a little like, you know, the basic steps, the body's moving up and down a little bit, and then cumbias, it's pretty much a basic like 1, 2, 3, and then if you want to get a little fun, you can do like a drop step, and I love doing cumbia, and then huepa's the same. Huepa's really fun. But honestly, I don't think I could really dance 2 years ago. But then I just kind of started realizing, like, hey, like, if you're going to go to bailes, if you're going to go to Haris, like, you got to figure it out, man. and so yeah, it's funny because a lot of people think, like, oh, Connor's been dancing for a long time. Like, I've seen him doing wet behind videos. I've seen him doing cumbia. I've seen him doing norteñas. And I'm like, guys, like, no, I don't know how to dance. Like, I've never taken classes. I've never done anything. I just enjoy it. Enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
You know,
I love it.
Sometimes, like you said, after a few shots of tequila, you're ready to go.
Yeah,
you know,
it's true.
How it works.
It's true. Okay, cool. All right, hey, well, Connor, this has been un placer. You're such a nice guy, and I feel like we share a lot of similarities, I think, too. And I think the biggest thing I took from this conversation, and hopefully everyone who's watching this can remember too, is like when you're learning Spanish or any language, just like relax, have fun, like soak up the culture and just love it. Like, it doesn't need to be something so serious. Just have a good time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. Thank you so much, Nate, for having me.
De nada. All right, well, I hope you have a good day. Que Dios te bendiga. Y estamos hablando.
Gracias. Igual.